right. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Second Chapel. I'm happy you guys are here. And before I get started, kind of with my speech, I'd like to thank the Dean, Teresa Gillespie, and the whole College of Business staff and faculty for really nominating me as the senior representative. I know there are a lot of great candidates, and I'm really honored and excited to speak. And if you know me well, you know public speaking is not really my forte, but I'm still excited about this opportunity. And different from the other speakers, probably throughout the week, I'm going to more share about my story because God's done a lot in my life, and I'm excited to share that with you. And I hope it is an encouragement to you guys. And yes, I'd also like to dedicate this speech to my grandpa, Sidney Greenwald, who passed away when I was young. But throughout my life, he's still been a huge motivation for me, and I know he's up in heaven watching me and cheering me on. So to get started, if we could go to the next slide. I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of background, because when I hear a story, I like to have background, and I think it gives perspective that's really important when sharing something. So to kind of start, I like to talk about 2/3 of my family. Well, this is a picture of 2/3 of my family. My little sisters weren't at this particular event, but I liked the picture, and I thought I'd use it. So just to talk about my dad, he's definitely been the biggest role model in my life as far as just being a godly man and just taking care of his family. And how he works has kind of been the most important thing for me and my brother, just kind of see him as an example of someone who's diligent in their work and knows they do good works for the kingdom and not necessarily here on earth. But his diligence through his work has always been a huge motivation for me, and it's been a great example throughout my life. And he's also been very committed to his work and his family, which I definitely appreciate more than anything. And my mom, she's a big prayer warrior. Throughout the years, she's been very loving and caring and a big encouragement to me, and I really appreciate her and everything she does. Also, my brother, he's not here today. He's finishing up his freshman year down at Greg Canyon University, but I would like to acknowledge him and just the work that he has done, and I appreciate him as a brother, but also a friend. Just growing up, we like playing sports and just doing crazy things around the house. It's just been a huge blessing to me to be a part of his life as well. And my little sisters, they're not in the picture, but there's a pretty big age gap between my brother and I and our little sisters, but nevertheless, they're still a huge blessing to me. And when we hang out, we usually watch movies or play games and just do crazy stuff. So definitely excited to be their oldest brother, and it's been a really big blessing for me. And then just kind of talking about where I grew up in Kent, Renton area. Kent's definitely taught me a lot. It's taught me to be aware of your surroundings. And that's just kind of a natural product of an environment. And part of growing up in Kent, it's taught me the importance of a cultural community, and part of that community is being involved in a church. And I remember going through my early years of life, like junior high and early high school years, I went to my family's church, and I think I've taken it for granted in the past just because I think the importance of a family-based church and being grounded is something that's really important, and I think you learn a lot, and there's opportunities to grow and have people who have seen you grow up just be an encouragement to you as well. And I think that adds another aspect of how people can encourage you and not necessarily just flat out encouragement. And growing up through the years, early high school years, I grew really close to my youth pastor at the family church, and just been a really encouragement to me throughout the years. And I wanted him to officiate my wedding, and that's in a couple of months. But also throughout my high school years, I was involved with New Life, which many of you are familiar with. I was really close to the Maple Valley pastor, Josh Young, and I was really able to step into a leadership role there and just be, as far as their youth group, just be a leader there and experience what it's like to be involved in a youth ministry. So that was a huge blessing to me, and we went on a mission trip as well, and we went to the Dream Center down in LA, and that was a huge blessing for me, an opportunity to gain perspective on things, and we were able to visit Skid Row, and that really put things in perspective as well. And then heading into senior year, as I was looking for colleges, we can head to the next slide, that'd be great. I wanted to look for a college that was smaller, because I'm a very hands-on learner, and I like being able to connect with the professors, and that was really important for me. And also faith-based college was important to me. I just wanted to, but biggest thing was just a culture of a campus that would really enhance my ability to grow and just learn leadership and community and just be a part of something that's bigger than a university. And I think that's what Northwest University has provided for me. Throughout the years, the first year I was part of the Wolf Pack. I was down in the dorms, which was great. And then later in the years, I was able to commute, and that was hard. During junior and senior year, I was employed by Washington State to be a 405 traffic surveyor. So every day for 2 hours, I'd survey traffic, and that was pretty great. If you're a commuter, you know what I'm talking about. And as I was going through my degree, I was invested into the classes I was taking, and I took a financial accounting class with Professor Tom Sill, and really enjoyed it, and I did well in the class, so he encouraged me to continue that love for accounting, and that's what I'm graduating with in a couple of weeks, which I'm very excited about. So if you're in the College of Business and not really sure what you want to do, I highly encourage you to experience accounting, and if you want to be challenged, then it was good for me, so I hope it would be good for you. Before I get into the next section of my speech, I want to bring us to a verse, and it is 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. It says, "Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." And then we can go to the next verse, or next slide. So, on February 17th, 2018, I got a text as I was driving on 405. I got a text from my doctor saying, or confirming the prognosis or diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a cancer of the lymphatic system. And of course, just go on. I labeled this like God's plan because, like the verse said, I think being able to accept God's will for you is very important in life, and I think it's something we're called to do. So, kind of talking about how I found out I had cancer, besides a text from my doctor. Over the span of Christmas break of my junior year, which was last year, I discovered a lymph node in the side of down my collarbone area, and I was sick at the time, so I thought it would just go away on its own. And going into spring semester, it hadn't gone away, and it was still there. So as I was going through that, I looked online, and the first things you see is like cancer and everything like that. So for me, like seeing that, like just from a simple Google search, it was pretty radical, and I wanted to get it checked out as soon as I can. So I remember talking to my mom, and we went to an urgent care out in Covington, and we met with the doctor there, and she took blood, and everything looked fine. So we were. I was pretty confident in that, but they wanted to refer me to an ENT doctor for further tests, so they could get a better established diagnosis. So I remember meeting with him, and he was kind of doing his exam, and he was going through lists of things that it could be. And as he got later down the list, he got the more serious diseases, and I remember hearing cancer and over again. I was like, well, like, is it cancer? Like, can we do some stuff to figure it out? And obviously, there's a procedure on doing that. So, first test I got ever was a biopsy, and the needle was about this big. I had to get it stuck in the side of my neck, which wasn't fun at all. And a couple of days later, we got back results for that, and they said there's some concern with the results they had. And obviously, in that moment, for me, it was pretty scary. Not really overwhelmed by fear, but just more of the sense that I was worried and wanted to kind of further investigate and see what this could be. So I had to go back in and get a core biopsy, which is basically a bigger needle, and it's like a little stapling machine. And I had to lay on this table, and they had to stick this whole thing in me, and it wasn't very fun at all. But after that, that was the discerning test that confirmed my Hodgkin's lymphoma. And we weren't really sure of the stage yet, just because it was simply off of a sample of the lymph node. And to do a full diagnosis of what stage it's at, I had to get a ton of scans done to kind of see for imaging how far the cancer spread. And after I got those tests done, they confirmed stage 3 or above of Hodgkin's lymphoma, which basically means it was out my whole body, which was kind of surreal because it was like I never really knew I had cancer, and then it's staged at such a high level, which was throughout this whole moment, like it was hard for me, and definitely hard for my family to hear that, and friends as well, to hear that someone has cancer, and it's life-threatening, and it could be pretty serious if treatment doesn't work. But in the sense of that all, God was good, and I just was thankful for all the tests that they confirmed it, and the next step was to meet with the doctor. And I think throughout the whole thing, the biggest blessing for me, besides like having the support of friends and family, was being my care transferred to Seattle Children's, which is up in North Seattle, kind of by the UW campus. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but it's just the whole atmosphere there, and just everything they do there is just amazing. And God definitely has his hand in that facility and all those doctors' lives. So I was very thankful for that, and always count that as a blessing to have my care transferred to Seattle Children's. So as I got to Seattle Children's, I met with a new doctor there, the oncologist, and we went over treatment plans and what that would kind of look like as far as like timing and different drugs I would get. So there's like a ABVD treatment plan, and there's like a PEA BOCC treatment plan, I think it's called, and that just means like the number of chemos you get and what kinds of chemotherapy drugs you get. And for me, like being in that moment and just being in that office, talking to a doctor about cancer and how to treat it, it's really surreal to me. It's something like I never really thought. I mean, nobody can really be not necessarily okay with cancer, having it, but just in that instance, is like I said, surreal to me. And of course, you ask like questions like, why me, why now? And not really angry with God, but as far as communing with God through prayer, and it was just like an acceptance, like that verse, an acceptance of his will for me, no matter if I make it through this or if I don't. It's just accepting really what God has for me, and if that journey is in the image of cancer, then so be it. So after deciding on a treatment plan, I kind of talk a little about time span as far as like what that treatment looked like. There was 5 cycles, and each cycle was 3 weeks. So they numbered day 1 through 21 for each cycle, and I'd be taking 5 different chemo drugs. Some of them were called vincristine, bleomycin, and doxorubicin, and there's other 2, but I couldn't really pronounce them, so I didn't put them on the list. But those, like, before having cancer, like as far as chemotherapy, the only thing I really thought of chemotherapy was something that just made you lose your hair. And being in the office and talking about what that really looks like was just crazy to me. And just talking about, oh, it's a bag of fluid that pretty much wipes out your immune system and killing cancer at the same time. So just talking about that, I remember with the doctor, I was like, well, what does that look like? Like, what are the symptoms? And of course, we went into more detail. And then as I started my treatment cycle, on day 1, I'd go into the hospital and stay the night. On the first day, I get 5 different chemos, and they all go through a port through the side of my neck. I had a surgery before I started treatment to place a port on the side of my neck, and it's basically a tube that goes down one of your arteries straight into your heart. So the drugs have better access once they go in to go straight into your bloodstream. So So that's how I got all my chemo drugs, and there was one pill that I had to take in the form of chemo. So that was day one. I had to go in, take 5 different chemos, which was not fun at all. They hook you up. My best friend, Stanley, he's this little medical thing that has all these beepers and a tube that connects to you. So I had to leave him attached to me wherever I went, so he became one of my best buds in the hospital. But I remember going in day one, very first day, like not anticipating anything, but just getting treatment for a cancer that I had. And of course, fear and anxiety are kind of the 2 symptoms that are natural in that instance. But I just remember being comfortable with where I was at. I knew I was in the best place I could be. I knew God had me here for a reason. And if I could impact others through this, I knew that that's something I would like to live out. So day 2 of every cycle, I would stay the night, so I'd be there already, and I'd get 3 more chemos. So basically, first 2 days of each cycle was just being pounded and pounded with these drugs that wiped out pretty much everything in my body as far as my immune system, and at the same time killing the cancer that had infected out throughout my body. I think part of the option or part of the treatment plan was chosen because the cancer had actually spread to part of my bone marrow, which classified it as stage 4. So the reason I was taking 5 different chemos like over and over again, and day 1 and 2 I was taking a ton of these medical drugs, was because the cancer had spread to my bone marrow, and we needed to kind of act upon that. So those were days 1 and 2, and then a week later, on day 7, I had to go back and get 2 more chemos. But this time they don't give you, I wasn't really sure, but they don't give you like a supporting drug that helped you with the symptoms. So I remember day 7s were always the hardest because I go in and visit the doctor, and I get my 2 chemos, and then going home, one of the symptoms was really bad mouth sores. So it felt like nuts and bolts, and just glass was in my mouth, and it was hard to, those days, like that whole week pretty much, it took to recover from that. It was hard eating and drinking. It just wasn't fun at all. And there were many more symptoms, but I won't go too much into detail. But nevertheless, going through those cycles, it taught me a lot, and it was very hard, physically and mentally. I would say more physically, just from all the symptoms, but definitely mentally as well, just being able, like thinking about, like I have cancer and I have to go in and get these drugs because they're healing me. Definitely mentally it was wearing as well. But through it all, just being there at Seattle Children's and just the support I had from the nurses, I think was one of the, besides like the prayers and encouragement from friends and family, the nurses there at Seattle Children's were a huge help to me, and they were always encouraging. And every time I go in to get these drugs, they'd always just have something to say that was encouraging, and I really appreciate them. So if you're in the nursing program, as a patient, I just want to say thank you for all that you guys are doing now in school and then have yet to do out in the field. And I think you guys are truly the hands and feet of Jesus, and I really thank you for taking the time to be diligent in class. I know I've heard that the nursing program isn't very fun as far as testing and stuff, but I thank you guys as a patient, and I really appreciate you. Also, while going through treatment, I learned a lot, and it put a lot of things in perspective as far as just being diligent and genuine as far as your interactions with people, and just really, like the word appreciation means a lot to me. And when I say I appreciate you, like I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. And that's like, even besides like thanking people for support of me having cancer, like just appreciating people I think is important, and people need to feel appreciated. So while going through chemo, I was still in school and I was still working as much as I could as I was feeling up to it. But the biggest thing for me was going through school and being able to succeed was really important to me, and having the teachers here and the whole faculty of Northwest really helping me and giving me the opportunity to succeed in class and have academic accomplishment was just a huge blessing to me. And during spring quarter, which is when I was going through treatment, I had Dr. Shannon Fletcher's class, Business Communication, and she really gave me the opportunity to succeed in that class, even though I couldn't be there as much as I could, and I will never be able to thank her enough for that opportunity, as well as Brother Nelson. I had 2 of his classes, and he, just throughout the whole process, he's up back there, so I just want to say thank you just for the tremendous opportunity to be your student and still accomplish what I wanted to accomplish with your help, and your dedication to me as a student is definitely something I will always be grateful for. As well as Tom Sill, I had his class as well, and it was a hard class, so it was hard to not be there and still learn the subject, but nevertheless, he still gave me an overwhelming amount of opportunities to be successful and still accomplish in the class, and that is something, again, I will always be grateful for, and I thank you for that. And also, I want to thank people who visited me in the hospital. Dr. Rolanda Cawthon, she visited me and dropped off a little gift basket, and I still have the little note that she left me in my wallet, and I keep that just as a daily reminder, just to appreciate the people that have supported me, as well as Brother Nelson and Thor. They got to visit me in the hospital, and that's something for me, like having someone that will take the time out of your day to visit someone hooked up that looks like trash, hooked up to all these tubes, and just sitting in that hospital bed, just for you, like kind of like the picture, like for you to visit me, it's just something I will like always be grateful for, and something I deeply appreciate. And I'm thankful and grateful for your guys' support as you visited me. I also got a visit from the UW, a couple of players from the UW football team. I won't list their names here, but they had the opportunity to visit me while in the hospital, and it was cool just talking with them, and it was all through my brother Isaac Shorak. He set that up, so big shout out to him, and thanks for him. But just having those visits was really supportive of me, and really helped me get through those hard times as far as being physically weary, and just not wanting to continue on as far as the treatment, and having people visit me was a big support in that, and I'm really thankful for everyone who visited me, as well as the family and friends that visited me throughout the whole treatment cycle. That's something I will always be thankful for. And then if we want to go to the next slide, I'm proud to announce as of June 28th, I am cancer-free. Throughout the whole treatment, I was able to learn more about my prognosis and how things were looking, and towards the end of my treatment, they were able to give me confirmation of being cancer-free, and I think that's a definitely testament to the support and prayer I have just from everybody here, the faculty here, my friends I've met here, and also friends back home, and people I've interacted with. That's just a huge testament to prayer and your guys' support. It's nothing that I've really done at all. It's thanks to you guys and everything that you encouraged me with. And ultimately, it's a testament to God's power and his healing. Just through prayers and through prayers, he was able to answer. And he's able to lead me on into a journey that he wanted me to go on. And his will was for me to have cancer, but not only have cancer, to beat it. And that's something that I'm continuing to learn about as far as like, why did I have cancer, and why did I survive it? Like what's next for me? And that's something God continually is showing me through the encouragement of friends, and through through the way that he guides me through my life. And as far as future outlook, I thought I'd just briefly talk about what's next for me after graduation. I am definitely going to celebrate graduation. I've been here for 3 years, and I'm very grateful for the 3 years I have, but I'm very excited to graduate and be done. So I'm going to be celebrating that in a couple weeks, as many of you are, and I'm excited to celebrate that with you guys. As far as career options, I have 2 offers right now that if you could be praying for me, they're very generous offers, so it's a big step for me to be able to have that opportunity with two different companies. So if you could be praying for me personally, I will be making a decision very soon. It'll be a very hard decision, but with your prayer, I think God will show me what He wants me to do. I'm also getting married in August to my beautiful fiance, Lexi Haggett. She's been, throughout this whole thing, she's been my best friend and a huge support, and I will always be grateful for her. So I'm very excited to get to marry my best friend in a couple months. And then in regards to like finishing school and being done, I really wanted to talk about, just briefly, I really want to cultivate the culture of Northwest that I've learned here into the workforce and really take what I learned here and develop it into wherever I'm at, wherever God has me and whatever opportunity He lays out for me. I want to be able to continue to grow the things that I've learned here and just develop what the teachers have taught me, what the faculty has taught me, and being in chapel, what that has taught me as well. So that's kind of the gist of it. That's my story. I hope it is an encouragement to you guys. And I like to be genuine. Genuine is a very important word to me. And for me as a student, to you fellow students and faculty and professors, I really appreciate you guys and thank you for the opportunity for me being able to speak to you guys. Thank you for listening. And there's 3 things I'd like to leave with you guys today. And if we want to go to this next slide, that is rejoice always, for God is good. Give thanks, for God is good, and stay dangerous. And then if you'll join me in prayer, I will pray, and then we can get out of here and have a good day. So, dear Lord, we come to you with humbled hearts, and we just thank you for everything that you give to us and everything that you don't give to us. As we learn to live the way you want us to, and we accept your will, I pray that you give us encouragement and strength in this season of celebration, as well as we celebrate the resurrection of the Son of God, and as we celebrate graduation coming up. I thank you for everything that you do, and I pray that we become diligent workers, and you just bless us as we get to serve out your will. In your name we pray, amen. Thank you, guys.